Hello there, and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. If we've not met before, my name is Ash and I'm the curator of this channel. And the Chap's Guide is all about sharing life skills, tips and advice to help you on your journey to being the best chap that you can be. Now, we talk about product reviews, we talk about heritage, tradition, dressing stylishly at a modest price, and all sorts of things which help you to look more chap, act more chap, and have more confidence in your journey through life. Part of that is also the downtime. So for me, I've got a very busy life. I have a very intense full-time job, which occupies a lot of my time. I'm married, I have a young family, and I have many voluntary commitments as well, which keep me increasingly busy. I have a lot of problems with saying no to people when they ask me for help. It's great because it sharpens a lot of my skills and the things which I use to help me get ahead in life. And the reasons why I like style and fashion to a degree, not so much fashion, more style, is because I go to many places and I meet many people through the activities which I undertake. However, having a busy life is great, but there comes a point where you need to take your foot off the gas and let things pass you by. Just to relax, take it easy, slow yourself down. And the way I do that is I like to get out in the outdoors and spend some time, often on my own. I like to do, obviously I love to do things with my family, but sometimes a little bit of solitude goes a long way in, letting the mind relax and just, taking it easy. Just putting your mind at ease away from all of those things that are going on constantly all the time around you. Now, I'm sharing my journey with you as part of the Chap's Guide mission, and for me, the way that I rebalance my life is I come to my little hut. Now, I call it my wellness retreat hut, or my hut in the woods, and this is just basically a shed which is a little way from my home, not too far away, enough to walk to, on a patch of land where there's a couple of fields, and there's a wooded area as well, as you can see behind me here. And it's not a particularly dense wood, it only covers about half an acre, but it's a lovely wood, and I like to see the seasons change here. In the summertime, when it's in full leaf, you get the full effect of nature, the little microclimates inside the wood. And in the wintertime, like it is now, it's the middle of December in the UK at the moment. It can be brutally cold, it can be really unpleasant, but still nature charges on. And so does the mind. So when you want to reset the mind, I like to come up to my wellness retreat hut here, which I've made comfortable for trips away. Just like today, it's a Sunday, it's very near to Christmas actually in the UK, where life is going at full force everywhere else. So I've come up here for the day. My wife and my son are off doing their thing. They're gone to a garden centre, they're wrapping presents, all that sort of thing, watching the TV. But I've just liked to spend a few hours here this afternoon where I can let my mind relax. There's nothing to worry about. I'm going to cook myself some lunch in the hut. I've brought some stuff with me to throw on top of the wood burner, which I've got in there. I'll give you a quick tour of the place in a moment so you can see what I'm talking about. And it just is great to let my mind calm down. And for me, this works great. I love to come up here, and there's something enjoyable in the juxtaposition to the way I lead my life, because most of us, chaps anyway, we lead kind of quite regimented lives where, if you like dressing fine, you tend to like order and everything in its place. I take pleasure in polishing my shoes, looking smart, making sure my shirts are ironed correctly, all of those things which contribute to the chap style. But when you come outdoors, of course, everything changes. Nothing is clinically clean. Everything is at the element, or at the control of the elements, like it is right now. I mean, it's been raining solidly all day. Just had a brief break in the rain just to come out and have a chat to the camera. You can see my little wellness hut behind me. It's only an 8 foot by 4 foot shed, which I've insulated and panelled on the inside. It's got a table, a chair, a wood burner and a bed, and I can come up here for overnight retreats, just sit in there, listen to the radio, chill out, make myself a bit of food on the wood stove. And there's something really elemental to just returning to nature. It makes it sound as if I'm bushcrafting with Ray Mears. It's nothing like that, but it is just enough to step away from the gritty reality of normal life and to just take stock and relax quite calmly. So that's how I do it. I'm going to take you in the hut with me right now. I'm going to cook some lunch, and I'm going to eat some lunch, and I'm going to chill out. And then after a few hours, listening to Radio 4, all the things that I like to do to calm down, I'm going to go back down to the house and get stuck into normal life, because we're only a few days away from Christmas and everything is in fifth gear at the moment. There's no relent to everything that's going on. So for just a few hours, I am taking it easy and living the grimy nature life out in the woods. So thanks for joining me. Let's go inside and cook some lunch, because I'm a bit hungry now. Alright folks, so welcome back to my wellness retreat, my small hut, and now I've settled in, I've got the fire going, I've got a kettle of water boiling up. It's time to think about having a bit of lunch, because lovely as it is being outdoors and the weather is absolutely chucking it down. I can hear it thundering on the roof. I don't know if you guys can. If you can hear the fire flickering in the background. So it's time to get some lunch on the go. And I'm a firm believer of actually making lunch from scratch, because it really helps me to get that feel that I'm getting away from it and, experiencing a bit of self-sufficiency outdoors. It's only an illusion, because obviously everything I brought with me is stuff that I brought, so it's not that big a deal. But I'm going to make myself a chicken soup stew, whatever you want to call it, really simple. And I've brought everything in my pack with me as I came up here today, to make sure that I wouldn't starve, keeping an eye on the kettle, which is boiling. So I've got a very basic camping cookery set, a little aluminium pan, just with the old holder on it, different size pans available of course. And I'm going to throw everything in there and boil it up. And I've got a can of chicken breast, really good stuff, available from all good supermarkets. This particular one I got from Costco. And it's really good white breast meat, and it really adds quite a lot. It's going to be quite a hearty dinner really, because it's a bit much for one person. Whew, the wind blowing there. But it's a cool day, a damp and horrible day, and I'm sure a hearty lunch is going to boost the morale and make sure I get through the day and the difficult days ahead. So here is my vegetables, which I have brought with me from home. Just the usual bit of carrot, bit of parsnip, some sprouts for a bit of green, and well, first things first, let's get started. Now I've got a kettle of water boiling, which is going to be the stuff that holds this all together. And to make sure that I get at least some decent flavour into that, as well as the veg, I'm going to add a stock cube, and this is a vegetable one. It's the only ones I use. Chuck that into the pan. And there is my salt and my flavouring, so I didn't have to bring anything else with me, salt and flavourings. In addition to that, just add the water when the kettle's boiled, and I'm just going to leave it simmer on top. So, just a couple of vegetables to go with it. Now in my pack I brought my little knife, my camp knife, really inexpensive, I think it costs just a few pounds. Keep it clean, don't be skinning animals and then preparing your vegetables. But in this case, all I'm going to do, and incidentally, a bit of an improvised chopping block. As you can see, this is just a bit of old wood which I picked up from the garage at home, where I store all my bits and pieces. And the beauty of it is, when I finished using it, it goes in the fire. There's no washing up, which is the great bit about cooking when you're outdoors. So I'm just going to chuck the veg in here, very loosely chop it all up, throw it in, and Bob's your uncle. There we have a vegetable stew on the fly. So let's just get this in there. Shouldn't take very long. I haven't brought that much. Now of course you control what you eat, so you bring what you want to eat. If you like whatever, throw that into your pack and that's your lunch. You can bring sandwiches, but for me, part of the whole experience of getting out of the house and getting away from it all is just this. It is literally making myself a bit of lunch, sitting back, letting it cook on the fire, and then having a hot lunch, knowing that I threw it all together, very simply and inexpensively. Simple as that. So that's the sprouts, which will add the colour. Put the offcut in the other pan. Right, and along with that, just to add flavour, I've got a little bit of leek. I chopped a bit of leek up at home. In fact, I was making a casserole for dinner tonight, family casserole, and I saved myself a little bit of leek because I knew I would want to put this in my lunch up here in my wellness retreat. So again, goes in the pan. Carrot. Now carrots are fine. Obviously they add quite a lot of colour and flavour. Need to peel them. So for me, I always keep a vegetable peeler in my pack wherever I go. You never know when you're going to need it, and of course the day that you don't bring it is the day that you're going to be making yourself a bit of lunch. So very quickly and effectively, much easier than trying to do it with a knife. All I do now is I peel my carrot when my blades aren't jammed with carrot. There we go, simple as that. And put that to one side. And just chop him up mostly. Always like a bit of carrot in there, something to, you know, get your teeth into. Stays a bit more solid in the stew, doesn't it? Throw that in. And finally, a parsnip, just to add a bit more flavour. I think parsnips with a stew always adds a bit of sweetness, which is great. I'm going to take all my rubbish away with me. I don't want to leave anything in the hut which might be attractive to vermin to come in and want to chew on it when I'm not around, which is, let's be honest, most of the time, so I want to protect the place. The parsnip, yeah, I am going to peel that one as well, just to make it a bit softer and easier to eat. And there we go. That's it, simple as that. Get that one peeled off. And my wilderness stew, if you can call it that, is starting to take shape. That's it, okay. Good. They all want to escape today. They don't want to be eaten for lunch. There we go, nice chunky wilderness stew. That all goes in there. As I say, my chopping board, when it gets to the point that I'm ready to get rid of it, it simply goes on the fire. So it prepares the next meal for me as well. This is a win-win scenario for everybody. So inside my pot, I've now got my leek, my carrot, my parsnip, my stock cube, and what I do need now is some water to boil it in, to get it all cooking. So you'll excuse me if I just step up. I can see that my kettle, which is on top of my wood burner, over in the corner of the room, is now boiling nicely. So I'm just going to add that fluid into my soup that it's going to be. I'm not going to add the meat until the end because that's already pre-cooked, so there's no need to mess around with that. Now, overfilling with water could really delay the time that it takes to boil, but in this case I've just covered the vegetables and a little bit more. There's going to be enough in there for a cup of tea when the time comes. I'm going to put that to one side, let that simmer away. Now getting this on the cooker as soon as possible so that it can start to do its job. There we go. Right, there we go. So, gives me a moment while that simmers away to have a chat with you guys. And to be honest, as I think, you know, for me, spending time away from the hubbub of life, as I call this place my wellness retreat, is very much part of my Chap's guide to sort of physical and mental wellness. I think it's all well and good living at a fast pace, you know, be it you work in business, private sector, public sector, you know, every day, everybody's life is terribly busy. You're working constantly, you're chasing the family, childcare. You know, most everybody now is part of a family where everybody's working, quite often some distance from home, and yeah, life is a hubbub, and I think it's brutally important, you know, just to step back from it for a moment and relax and get back to basics, get back to, even if it's just something as simple as coming up to a shed in a wood and spending a couple of hours. I mean, I'm not staying overnight tonight, but I do stay overnight in this place. I've prepared it ready for overnight accommodation. I've got the bed, which the camera is sat on top of at the moment, and that allows me to just sit here. I've got my radio, and when I'm up here I just listen to Radio 4. I find that really quite calming experience, and I'll sit here listening to the elements. You know, when it goes dark, which is quite early at this time of the year, I've got a nice big window, and there are badgers, all sorts of, nothing, you know, this is the UK, there's nothing exciting to look at, although it depends what you find exciting. I mean, to me, seeing a badger walking past, which I often do up here, because there's a field nearby, a cultivated field where farmers keep, you know, they grow annually sort of corn for wild stock to live off in the winter time. The badgers love to go in there, and I'll often find the sort of husks of the corn around here, because the badgers will drag it back and they'll eat it in this area. And you see them occasionally wandering around. You see the badger sign, you know, where they've dug a hole and made their ablutions, which is quite obvious. And it's quite a nice thing, you know, to be in nature, but distanced from it in quite a comfortable little environment. I've got my wood burner, I can cook a meal, I can stay warm even when it's brutally cold. There is no temperature, I think, that I couldn't survive in here, because quite basically, you know, it was originally just a shed, and what I have done is I've insulated it. So there's a 1 inch thick insulation polystyrene sheet between the exterior skin and what you can see here, which is just quite a thin wooden panelling, tongue and groove. So it really not only keeps this room very insulated, but it quite significantly adds to the structural integrity of the shed, which I think is only 8 foot by 6 foot. So, you know, it's not huge by any means, but plenty big enough. I've got a table, I've got a chair, I've got a bed, I've got a wood burning stove, I've got shelves that you can't quite see from where you're looking at, one above me, plenty of room for storage. Worth saying with the wood burning stove, you know, that I do also have a carbon monoxide detector here. I have no intention of going to sleep one night and not waking up. So, you know, looking after my health is quite important. So I'm going to let that simmer away, and perhaps I'll give you a view of it in a moment. It's on top of the stove, it's cooking away. I'm going to let that simmer for an hour. I think the weather is easing off, so I'm going to go outside and I'm going to cut some more wood. I've got a little wood box in the corner where I keep my firewood, and that'll just allow me to stay as warm as I need to be, cook my meals, make myself a cup of tea. The wood stove I've got here is really quite efficient, actually, and really quick to burn and to boil water. If anything, I think that kicks out 3 kilowatts of heat when it's in full flow, which, to be fair, can be quite warm in an 8 foot by 6 foot space, which is great when the weather is exceptionally cold. But also, you know, you can moderate it by controlling the airflow and things like that. So, you know, great for any time of the year. Or even in the summertime, if you come up and you want a cup of tea, you can throw a few sticks of wood in there, cook it up, boil up the water, and you can have tea in 5-10 minutes, which is great. Saves you carrying a flask. So there we are. So that's my lunch. I'm going to come back in a little while when it's boiled for a bit more, you know, when the stew is, or the soup is ready for a bit of lunch. I'll show you adding the meat to it, and then you can watch me eat it if you like as well. If it's part of your wellness process to watch me enjoying my mental and physical wellness retreat up here today. So I'll come back to you in a moment, and I'm going to chop some wood now. I'll see you in a little while. Alright folks, so welcome back, and welcome back to my dinner, which is looking rather nice at the moment. It's boiling away rather nicely. Just give it a quick stir. Right, there's only one thing missing, and that's the main bit, the chicken. So I'm just going to, excuse me for reaching over. Here's my chicken. I've drained it off and I have just popped it in there. As you can see, improvising, I have got a wooden spoon here which I've cut the end off just so it's a lot easier to carry around, and that bit of the spoon which is missing actually went on the fire as well. So we waste nothing. Now there we go, that is effectively my lunch, a bit more than I think I can eat. It's a chicken soup. All I'm going to do is let that warm up. Just a little addition, it is crushed red chili pepper, so I'm just going to add a little bit of that, because what doesn't get improved with a bit of chili pepper, I think. There we go, not too much though, I don't want to blow my head off. So there we go, simple as that. So I'm just going to let that chicken warm up for a moment. For those of you who are interested, I'll just move the camera back a little bit so you can see it. So this wood burning stove, it's called, I forget what it's called now, it's an Outbacker wood burning stove, that's the name of it. It's a really straightforward design. It's a cast iron stove, I guess you'd call that, iron stove, which has got a nice firebox in the middle. You can pretty much burn any old wood in there. Wood, metal flue which goes up through the roof of the shed and vents through the flue which goes right up into the air about 6 feet above the shed. So it's got a fantastic draw, and it allows you, as you can see, I'm boiling my kettle on top here as well for a cup of tea, and also I've got my lovely stew which is just about ready to put on my plate. So really excellent, and the beauty of this chap as well, I think it's actually called the Outbacker Firebox, is that it packs up quite straightforward. It's only 12 kilograms. The flue actually breaks down and can be placed inside the firebox, and it comes with a bag as well. So if you're going camping, I mean, it's particularly used for hot camping, as they call it, hot tenting. That's where you place this inside your tent, where you've got a venting point in the tent where the flue can come out. It allows you to camp at any time of the year, and it's very common in Scandinavia. A lot of the actual stoves like this originate in Scandinavia. This is actually a British built one from the company Outbacker, and I have to say I have found it to be excellent. I've had it a little while and it just performs perfectly, and if you want to, it all breaks down, you know, quite easily, goes into the bag. These little side things go on where you can store your things, you know, when you're cooking and what have you, and it's just pretty good when it comes to this sort of thing. So highly recommend that. So if you want to heat, you know, it can be used in a teepee, a tent, a shed, a mobile home if you wanted to have, you know, sort of internal heating of this nature. Really great way of doing so, and modestly priced. You know, I believe well under £200, and you're good to go. I don't leave it here all the time. Obviously, when I'm not here, I tend to pack it up, take it with me, stays in the garage, and then it comes with me when I need it. So ideal bit of kit for this sort of thing. Now my stew is bubbling away like crazy. Everything's nice and warm. It's time to get it on the plate. And it's a good time because it's actually just stopped raining and the sun has come out. So I'm going to set my folding chair up outside. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to have my stew, and I'll see you out there in a moment. Come away from there. You get back on there. Well folks, here we are. I am tucking into my wonderful, I'm going to call it my wilderness stew. There's not much wilderness in it, it's all come from the fridge at home. But there's just something about, you know, spending some time on your own, cooking something up from scratch, and just right now it's stopped raining, just, you know, connecting a bit with the outdoors, because most of us spend a lot of time indoors, I guess, in offices, in jobs, and just getting outside and spending a bit of time in the elements, getting a bit grimy, just makes that other transition into the life of being a chap and effortlessly elegant. It just makes it all that more enjoyable, does it not? You know, that's what I think anyway. So I hope you'd enjoyed just spending a bit of time with me at my wilderness retreat today. and cooking a bit of lunch. I'm going to crack on and eat this. I've got my brew here, all cooked up from the stove as well. Oh, nothing better. Nothing better than a tea in the outdoors, is there? So I'm just going to sit here, enjoy this brief moment of sun, eat my dinner, my lunch rather, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. I hope you've enjoyed this little chat we've had today and my little journey up here. Perhaps in the future I'll show you an overnight stop, then it gets a little bit more calming again, you know, sitting in there, just cooking a bit of dinner, maybe having a beer and relaxing. And we'll do that in the future. But please, if you've enjoyed this video, click the like button, because it means a lot to me to know that you are enjoying what I'm doing and taking something away from it. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Just let me know if you're enjoying this, or if you've got any ideas what you would like me to do to help you on your journey to being a chap. I'm open to anything. Don't forget to click the notification bell as well, and subscribe, because the more subscribers we get, the more people join our chap community. So thanks for listening to me today and coming out for this little journey, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon. That's what it's all about. What a day.